From the savannah to the Midland and the Atlantic, Ambazonia has risen to fall no more. Ambazonia rise.
Dear Ambazonians on the home front and diaspora.
Dear Ambazonia freedom fighters in the home front and in the diaspora.
The Ethics Commission of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia is coming out to alert you that it is becoming more and more evident that the former British Southern Cameroons, aka Ambazonians, will soon emerge as the newest nation in the world.
We are calling on all of us to start preparing to receive Ambazonia as parents prepare to receive their firstborn child. Malcolm X said, tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. We are already very educated, talented, and very rich in natural resources. Do all this guarantee a safe and prosperous Ambazonia? The answer is an emphatic no. Theodore Roosevelt said, to educate a person in the mind but not in morals is to educate a menace in society.
Ambazonians, it is time to start planning to restore our cultural and social values that characterize us as a people of good repute. Before our Republic to Cameroon invasion, we were respectful of each other, of the law, and of our culture. We earned our living through honest hard work, making clean money for ourselves.
Our values helped us to maximize the benefits of our natural resources as well as our human resources. Southern Cameroons were serene and clean, simply beautiful in spirit and in the physical. We all long for such a place to call home, and we can make it happen by God's grace.
Our local government areas and counties, are you preparing? Do you have an ethics commission in your local government areas, counties to serve as a moral compass for you? Do you have a copy of the Ambazonia Ethics Code and the Constitution?
All arms of government, do you have an ethics agency? Departments of DSS, HSS, Communications and IT, Education, DHACM, DFA and DEINR. Do you have ethics agency to serve as a moral compass for your departments?
Ambazonians, you need to know your rights by reading the Ethics Code and the Constitution.
Shame unethical behavior and reward good behavior in your communities. Hold leaders accountable. Be the watchdog of your communities and governments. See something, say something.
The church, you are the main research center of moral principles with the responsibility of moralizing the society. How effective are you outside the church building?
Maya Angelou said, when you know better, then you do better. Ambazonians, watch ethics for an emerging Ambazonia every Friday at 10 p.m. Amba time.
Exclusively on ABC Amba TV. Stay tuned.
From the savannah to the Midland and the
A man may work from dusk to dawn, but a woman's work is never done. Undoubtedly, Moms deserve to be celebrated because they are always putting others ahead of themselves. Mother's Day is the perfect opportunity to stop and reflect on all of her hard work.
Of course, Mother's Day isn't just a day for celebrating your own mother. It's a day for honoring all women in your life who support and nurture you, from your sister to your grandmother. It's also a chance to wish a happy Mother's Day to the mothers in Ambazonia who are bearing the brunt of the war.
Sometimes, the best way to thank Mother Ambazonia is with a simple and heartfelt message. Not all of us can write like Shakespeare, and it can be difficult to put our feelings into words.
That's why we're calling on all women, men, old, young to say Happy Mother's Day by getting a copy of the book Echoes of Women's Tears.
Echoes of Women's Tears is one platform where the Ambazonian woman gets some closure from the pain of losing their own in the senseless war.
Echoes of Women's Tears, a 21st century genocide in the former British Southern Cameroons. Get your copy today.
The Ambazonian mother, pains in thorns, cries out blood as she sees her own maimed and wasted. Her joy of childbirth turns out bloody. While we may not be able to feel the weight of the pain of what the Ambazonian mother is carrying all through, we do know that recognizing her this day would mean a lot of hope for her. Death leaves a heartache no one can heal, love leaves a memory no one can steal. For our love for you, Mama, we will beat Cameroon out of Ambazonia. We will win the war. Sooner than later your tears of agony will suddenly become tears of melody. Happy Mother's Day, Mother Ambazonia. Antic. Ambazonia has risen to fall no more. Ambazonia rise.
Dear Ambazonians on the home front and diaspora.
Dear Ambazonia freedom fighters in the home front and in the diaspora.
The Ethics Commission of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia is coming out to alert you that it is becoming more and more evident that the former British Southern Cameroons, aka Ambazonians, will soon emerge as the newest nation in the world.
We are calling on all of us to start preparing to receive Ambazonia as parents prepare to receive their firstborn child. Malcolm X said, tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. We are already very educated, talented, and very rich in natural resources. Do all this guarantee a safe and prosperous Ambazonia? The answer is an emphatic no. Theodore Roosevelt said, to educate a person in the mind but not in morals is to educate a menace in society.
Ambazonians, it is time to start planning to restore our cultural and social values that characterize us as a people of good repute. Before our Republic to Cameroon invasion, we were respectful of each other, of the law, and of our culture. We earned our living through honest hard work, making clean money for ourselves.
Our values helped us to maximize the benefits of our natural resources as well as our human resources. Southern Cameroons were serene and clean, simply beautiful in spirit and in the physical. We all long for such a place to call home, and we can make it happen by God's grace.
Our local government areas and counties, are you preparing? Do you have an ethics commission in your local government areas, counties to serve as a moral compass for you? Do you have a copy of the Ambazonia Ethics Code and the Constitution?
All our arms of government, do you have an ethics agency? Departments of DSS, HSS, Communications and IT, Education, DHACM, DFA, and DEINR. Do you have ethics agency to serve as a moral compass for your departments?
Ambazonians, you need to know your rights by reading the Ethics Code and the Constitution.
Shame unethical behavior and reward good behavior in your communities. Hold leaders accountable. Be the watchdog of your communities and government. See something, say something.
The church, you are the main research center of moral principles with the responsibility of moralizing the society. How effective are you outside the church building?
Maya Angelou said, when you know better, then you do better. Ambazonians, watch ethics for an emerging Ambazonia every Friday at 10 p.m. Amba time.
Exclusively on ABC Amba TV. Stay tuned.
From the savannah to the Midland and the Atlantic, Ambazonia has risen to fall no more. Ambazonia rise.
Dear Ambazonians on the home front and diaspora.
Dear Ambazonia freedom fighters in the home front and in the diaspora.
The Ethics Commission of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia is coming out to alert you
the savannah to the Midland and the Atlantic, Ambazonia has risen to fall no more. Ambazonia rise.
Dear Ambazonians on the home front and diaspora.
Dear Ambazonia freedom fighters in the home front and in the diaspora.
The Ethics Commission of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia is coming out to alert you that it is becoming more and more evident that the former British Southern Cameroons, aka Ambazonians, will soon emerge as the newest nation in the world.
We are calling on all of us to start preparing to receive Ambazonia as parents prepare to receive their firstborn child. Malcolm X said, "Tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today." We are already very educated, talented, and very rich in natural resources. Do all this guarantee a safe and prosperous Ambazonia? The answer is an emphatic no. Theodore Roosevelt said, "To educate a person in the mind but not in morals is to educate a menace in society."
Ambazonians, it is time to start planning to restore our cultural and social values that characterize us as a people of good repute. Before our Republic to Cameroon invasion, we were respectful of each other, of the law, and of our culture. We earned our living through honest hard work, making clean money for ourselves.
Our values helped us to maximize the benefits of our natural resources as well as our human resources. Southern Cameroons were serene and clean, simply beautiful in spirit and in the physical. We all long for such a place to call home, and we can make it happen by God's grace.
Our local government areas and counties, are you prepared? Do you have an ethics commission in your local government areas, counties to serve as a moral compass for you? Do you have a copy of the Ambazonia Ethics Code and the Constitution?
All arms of government, do you have an ethics agency? Departments of DSS, HSS, Communications and IT, Education, DHACM, DFA, and DEINR. Do you have ethics agency to serve as a moral compass for your departments?
Ambazonians, you need to know your rights by reading the Ethics Code and the Constitution.
Shame unethical behavior and reward good behavior in your communities. Hold leaders accountable. Be the watchdog of your communities and governments. See something, say something.
The church, you are the main research center of moral principles with the responsibility of moralizing the society. How effective are you outside the church building?
Maya Angelou said, "When you know better, then you do better." Ambazonians, watch Ethics for an Emerging Ambazonia every Friday at 10 p.m. Amba time.
Exclusively on ABC Amba TV. Stay tuned.
You're watching the People's Television, ABC Amba TV, the voice of Ambazonia. Stay tuned.
Welcome to Undaunted ABC Amba News Conference, Day 3. I am Star Smart. Let's begin. Undaunted News Conference is a dedicated centralization on Ambazonia. In fact, it is all about Ambazonia. In a world where the importance of storytelling can never be overemphasized, where systems and institutions of nations of these macrocosms are enhanced with the dissemination of information, Ambazonia and Ambazonians have got to tell their own stories by themselves. Before I even make progress, I would like to seize this opportunity to thank ABC Amba TV management, club members and board members and all stakeholders for granting us this platform through their generous donations to organize this very special news conference. It is the first of its kind. We are in today, the third day of the Undaunted ABC Amba News Conference, and it is so amazing. Like we mentioned from day one, it's been 50 years of a purported national day. 50 long years of the slave masters making a mockery of their slaves, Ambazonians. But this generation, the never again generation of Ambazonia, has risen to fall no more. What's the 20th of May for Ambazonia? The 20th of May celebrations to the people of Ambazonia is like telling a slave boy to dance and jubilate on the streets with a song and lyrics that says, "There's no better way to demean a people. There's no better way to insult them." For the past 2 days, we have heard from Ambazonian researchers, historians, and mentors telling in the most simplistic ways possible hard historical facts. The enlightenment, the refocus, the truth. Out of a dark history, Ambazonia is triumphing into a bright future. You can now understand why we believe that Ambazonia deserves to know the truth behind this day, and the time is now. Another underlying concern is the desperation and determination of the oppressor to have citizens of the two Cameroons participate in the celebrations of this lie. Oh yes, the entirety of the 20th May is a lie. From day one of this conference, Pa Augustine Ndangam opened the discussion with an expose he titled "The Non-Decolonization of British Southern Cameroons and the Question of a National Day." Yesterday, day 2, we had 3 amazing speakers. Dr. Winnie Lobati, House Speaker of the Interim House of Representatives, she talked to us about the Revolutionary Council idea or illusion, that is the interim government for the nation of Ambazonia. At the end, she gave to us sufficient reasons why Ambazonians must respect the lockdown ordered by the interim government. Next in line was Professor Bridget A. Tabo, who expanded on the historicity and legality of the Ambazonian quest for freedom. To crown it all up, the Secretary of State for Communications and IT, Martin Mungwa, PhD, FASCE, brought us through the light of his expose, A Road to Somewhere, Our Common Cultural Heritage. It was close to 4 hours of great excitement, and we look forward to another wonderful time during today's sessions. Just a reminder, this news conference was started on Monday, May 16th and on Friday, May 20th. Prior to this conference, we have exhaustively discussed the historical timelines during our various news bulletins, setting the foundation for this conference and any related arguments. As you can see, we have dedicated volunteers, researchers, writers, legamites, and historians who are willingly bringing to our beck and call the facts of the matter. After this conference, we believe Ambazonians will not perish because they lack knowledge. You sure do not want to be the one lacking or missing on anything. We have a first segment today, religion, church, and politics, that will be pioneered by Pastor Commando. Right after that, we will be having a discussion on the UN resolutions, treaties, and international laws in relation to Ambazonia's quest for self-determination by Barrister Valentine Gana. And we will crown it all up with Pa Augustine Ndangam, who plans to talk on Ahijo's ambivalence on 20th May as Southern Cameroon's Day of National Captivity. I know you can't wait. You may wish to participate during this conference as well. Do not hesitate to let us know via our number +12404 868768 or our website at www.abcambertv.com. Let us get into some news headlines for today before the discussion proper. Stay tuned.
The 20th May, this day, all the chiefs will march with a pancart indicating their village and their population follow behind. If that is not the case, it means those chiefs don't exist. And if you don't exist as a body, as a village, you should not be called village and counted among the village. I said it some 2 or 3 years ago. The chief refused to do it because they were still volunteers chiefs. But today, you know that the voluntariat is finished. Tradition is there, but you are tied to the state with an obligation. And Chief, you know now, I don't want to disclose it here, but we understand each other. If you fail to do what I am instructing, you will see 30 days after the consequences of that disobedience. So, Lord Mayor, prepare a packet. Because they will say that they don't have money. Prepare it. You have how many villages? 100 of packets. Every chief will pass. Those who are in exile, in Douala or Yaoundé, let them stay there. When they come back, they'll find somebody else.
Fellow Ambazonians, ladies and gentlemen, once again you are welcome to Day 3 of this epoch-thrilling news conference powered by Undaunted. I know some of you are already familiar with the video we just watched. This video is one of the demeaning behaviors of the oppressor and its subjects towards Ambazonian as a people. The gendarmes are acting exactly like forces of occupation. Administrators, from their attitudes, you could easily tell that they have the same inclination. But you know what? The interim government is winning very bigly. From our intelligence reports, Colonial Governor Okalia Belai once more threatens chiefs to march, else they will be dethroned. Like, seriously? It sounds like a dream, right? That's exactly what has been happening all across Ambazonia for over 60 years now. Aren't disrespect. The Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia, hitherto most cherished traditional values, now thrown to the dogs. How unfortunate. In one of the colonial charades in Boya local government area yesterday, we are told the colonial agent Okalia Belai, speaking with airs and with no little decorum for our so-called traditional rulers, now better known as royal beggars, threatens them yet again. The Bulu in Ambazonia yesterday threatened Ambazonian traditional leaders that all of them must march on May 20th, the day the Southern Cameroonians were mortgaged to La République du Cameroon in France. The day Ambazonians now believe that their true identity was tainted. The colonial governor orders the mayor to prepare billboards per chief, per village, carrying messages to purport the colonizers' agenda. Can you imagine? Okalia says every chief shall carry his billboard and march with it, followed by his subjects, and that chiefs on exile in French Cameroon shall remain there and will come back only to discover that they have been replaced. This is an insult right there. As I bring this report to you, I am vexed. So vexed. Can you imagine? Colonial Governor Okalia Belai is very much noted for his ruthlessness and sarcastic mannerisms when addressing the annexed people of the Southern Cameroons. In one of such outings, he described Ambazonians as cats, rats, and dogs. All I can say right now, may God save Ambazonia as he saved his people Israel. Let's get into the next segment of today's conference, and Onyi Opala will be your proud anchor.
Wow, that was mean. Colonial Governor Okalia Belai is mean. With that, you would want to ask, but what has he taken Ambazonians for? Like Sir Smart mentioned earlier, this is how colonial officers behave in the home front. That's what the peaceful peoples of Ambazonia have been subjected to for almost 6 long decades. What a shame. But you know what? The road to success is not straight. There is a curve called failure, a loop called confusion, speed bumps called friends, red lights called enemies, caution lights called family. You will have flat tires called disappointment, but if you have a spare tire called determination, an engine called perseverance, insurance called faith, and like Christians would say, a driver called Jesus, you will make it to the place called success. Ambazonia is free from mental slavery, and she is free indeed. To commence this segment of the conference tonight, I am Onyi Opala, and I sincerely apologize for coming late. Of course, you know that we are Undaunted, and we would get right into the conference right about now. We have our news director, Tapati King, and the director of resource mobilization, Niger, to make some commentary on this arrogance of colonial officials in Ambazonia. Let's get to meet them. Good evening, Patty. Are you there?
Good evening, Onye. Can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear. Loud and clear. I would also want to know if Nijo is rightly connected. So I'll just welcome him at once. Good evening, Nijo. Good evening, sir. There. All right. Mr. Party, let's start with you. Mr. Tar, I'm sure that you have watched this report all your life, but now that it has resurfaced and Steph Smart has brought up this report, how does that make you feel?
Well, like you rightly said, I grew up in this as a little boy. I was just about I was not even 10 years old when I watched my elder brothers and sisters being treated so poorly by what they call Kale Kale. You just wake up in the morning, gendarmes invading your homes. You see, the people of the former southern Cameroons today, Amazonia, have lived in perpetual fear for close to 60 decades, for close to 6 decades, sorry. There were administration in Yaoundé knows two things: bribery and force. When they cannot bribe you, they will have to force you or they kill you. When you have them kidnapping our leaders from Nigeria into Cameroon, impose them to betray the cause, which we now have intelligence that some of them are already giving in. But it's unfortunate that we are standing firm. Or they just destroy you. I think the only reason the Naira 10 is still alive is because it was a global news, and they are maybe concerned as to what the world will say if these individuals are disappeared. There are lots of Amazonians that refuse to succumb to the oppression of occupation and were disappeared. It's so unfortunate. I want to use this opportunity to apologize to Ground Zero that had a breakage of the stream. Our studio in Washington had power failure, but I've just been informed that we are back live, and I know that we're also streaming on Ground Zero. Please, for those of you watching in Ground Zero, so we have received power failure today twice in Washington. So if you have a breakage, just go to Facebook or YouTube. We'll be streaming. We're streaming from the second studio into the first studio in Washington. That is the wonders that the board members and the club members have made it possible. If we were depending on one studio, I'm sure this broadcast would not have started. So, because of some of those technical challenges, we delayed this production. I want to apologize to especially Pa Augustine Dankam, who is already behind the studios, and he has promised me that he will be waiting and watching all the other speakers speak. So we have to rush the papers that are now so that we can get directly into the conference with Pastor Commando and Dr. Frederick Lobati, and also Barrister Ghana Valentine will be there. Let's rush the discussion with Nijo and the other papers so that we can get into this. Thank you. If Nijo is connected now, just bring him on the screen and let him react to this, please.
Today.
Is Nijo connected?
Very well connected. I can see him.
Yeah, I am.
How are you doing today, Nijo?
I'm great on you. And you?
Better. All right, Nijo, you
Privileged to
saw
have you
that
on.
report by Stir Smart, and I'm sure that you've seen it even before now. How does that make you feel right now?
Yeah,
Sorry about
it's sad. But before I get into that, let me appreciate the opportunity to be able to come onto your platform again today to meet Amazonians and, as usual, send our 21 gun salute to our home front soldiers who are relentless and doing all of what they're doing to redress what we have missed over the years. When you ask me that question, it's it all boils down to administrators. And when you think about administrators, it's this concept that you own something and then you send someone else to go and look after. And I want to look at a scenario where the administrators is either feared or respected. And the question is which? When you have administrators who are civil, you have administrators who are informed, you have administrators who are human, you have administrators who know what they are doing, they are respected. When you have administrators who are illegal, because when you're running illegality, your conscience tells you what you're doing is wrong. When you have such administrators, what they tend to do is create fear. And once you create that fear in people, when you are being feared, the misconception that you have is that you think you are being respected. This has been the scenario that Ambazonians have been in. For most of the time that I grew up, in the early 70s, when we went to schools and then on to secondary school, you had this concept that everything you're asked to do, you have to bribe somebody to get it done. You're driving to school, you're in a bus, you stand on the way, the gendarmes, the driver has to go out and kind of give money. It's unbelievable what Ambazonians have been through. But I tell you what, we have made significant progress that I think we've got to a point where we need to start celebrating the successes we have made. Because the more unease that runs down in the Yaoundé minds, then the more success we are recording. I followed your wonderful program yesterday, and when I left, I think it was more like I've attended a degree course. Just for listening to that program, I think I was thinking that I deserve a certificate. I mean, the material was so rich, the presenters were excellent, the subject knowledge was on the spot. And coming back to today, I am ready to listen. I mean, listening to the panel you've just advertised, I can imagine the expertise in them, and I can't wait to get to listen to this. Barrister Ghana is there, is one of my favorite speakers, and listening to Park Ndangam yesterday, I mean, if he's coming on today, that is our encyclopedia for these issues as far as Ambazonia is concerned. And then when you have all the rest of them, your director of news, Comrade Paddy, I have so much respect for him, for his subject knowledge, for his bravery, for all the things that he has done, first to transform our ABC to what it is now, and bring, you want a wonderful team around him, made of you and yourself and your colleague Star, of course, and of course the director of ABC Mind. It's a wonderful, wonderful team you guys have around, and I think we should spend more time celebrating our achievements than actually looking back into history. And listening to the governor's clip that you have just played now makes me feel like not to have dinner tonight. But I tell you what, I'm going to ignore that.
All right. Nijo, before you would continue, this question just popped into my head, and I think that I should ask. You are at the helm of affairs at the resource mobilization, and the importance of resources to stop this arrogance can never be overemphasized. Please educate us. What is happening so far?
Right. We are on a good route. A good question, but probably I would think that you're referring to the National Emergency Fund drives we just done, or you want to look at the overall resource mobilization situation. And looking forward, all I can say is the first 3 for this year, which we did for Bui, of course, Ngokutundia and Dian, went really well. The details of the bank statements are coming up. Hopefully, I will be invited on Friday or Saturday to give you the figures because we get them weekly. For last week, I read them out, as you remember. We were on 70% for Bui. It's probably up to 75 now. For Ngokutundia, we're on 60, so it's probably up to 65, 70. And on Dian, we were on 40%. Definitely, it's getting up to 50% by now. So all of those figures, I can confirm them Friday or Saturday for your listeners. Looking forward, we are, of course, the Award 22 draft season this year spans from the 28th of May to the 28th of August. So during that time, we would have drafts for the 13 counties, and hopefully we should be able to squeeze in a couple of departments that also need support. Over the years, we have done HSS, and we last year we also did foreign affairs. I mean, looking at what is going on now, from the top of my head, I would think HSS, Foreign Affairs, your department, ABC, all of these departments that are non-stop in this struggle need Ambazonians' financial support. And so we would be rallying the support for them, and particularly ABC, without ABC, as you say in your adverts, we want to tell our own story. We don't want someone else telling our story. So for us to tell our story, we would need to support ABC. We would need to draft for ABC, and all Ambazonians are aware. We did that last year. We've done that in the past 2 years. We should do that again this year, and possibly add Foreign Affairs, HSS, and perhaps another department that is in need. Who knows? But we are in a changing situation, and of course, we will react as soon as there is need to. Thank you. I hope that answered your question.
Oh, well.
If I missed it, please repeat.
I would come back to you. Let's just continue with the news. Just hang on there, please.
Thank you.
Moving on with the news, another critical question for tonight is, has John Frundi finally killed the SDF? Earlier this month, May 2022, La République du Cameroon Social Democratic Front SDF chairman Ni John Frundi, Senator Mochigo Van Gazen Mochigo, exhorted his party's chair to write to Bia Junta, asking them to arrest family members, especially their parents, leaders of the Ambazonian Liberation Movement, and throw them behind bars so that they can capitulate. This new suggestion is coming a few weeks after Mr. Frundi on CRTV Webpress R had requested that the aforementioned leaders be extraordinary renditioned to Cameroon and tried in their military kangaroo tribunals if a peaceful Frundi never had justice for over 30 years. Will a violent Sako have? In their National Executive Committee NEC meeting, which was held on the 14th of May 2022 at Mr. Frundi's residence at Soa, Yaoundé, among the issues discussed was SDF's participation in the May 20th, 2022 March Past. In the course of this particular session, which was massively boycotted by SDF members of the West region, The regional chair of the Center region, Mr. Tonga Emmanuel, opposed SDF's participation in the march past as a result of the ongoing war in Ambazonia. He said, the war has destroyed the SDF more so because of the inconsistent and contradictory positions often taken by the SDF. He warned that if the party participated in this year's march past, it would be the final nail on SDF's coffin. In response, Mr. Frundi, in his uncouth and despotic manner, hit the table and said, as long as he is still at the helm of the party, they must keep participating, irrespective of whose ox is guard. He bullied everyone into submission and then appointed his close allied and comrade in betrayal, Mr. Joshua Nambigi Osei, to engage the administration and get modalities of their participation. You must have seen the reply from the senior divisional officers SDF of Umfondi to Mr. Joshua Osei on social media, stating very ridiculous conditions which the SDF must fulfill before they can march. This so-called march past by the SDF is supposed to take place all over the national territory of La Republic, including Ambazonia. It should be recalled that the commercial avenue Bamenda has been blocked by the Octogenarian Paul Biya military since last week. They have increased the blockade this week. Of course, this may not be unconnected to the civilian march past to take place on Friday. Do not be surprised to see some bees masquerading as SDF members marching in Bamenda and other parts in Ambazonia on May 20th, 2022. We can only advise Anglophones who are in Ambazonia to join Mr. Frundi in Yaoundé to celebrate the 50th edition of May 20th, 2022 in Yaoundé or anywhere in Cameroon or not in any part of Ambazonia. Any one group of persons doing so will be risking their lives for nothing. The recent actions meted on some of our own in Mbalangi and Oku are fresh examples for anyone not to forget. Also, in the course of that meeting, Senator Boussoulé of Michum acted out a CPDM-like script, which embarrassed everyone. He said he has looked among all of them and there is no one who can replace Mr. Frundi at the helm of SDF. Everyone present expected Mr. Frundi to distance himself from Boussoulè's statement, but the cantankerous chairman kept quiet. Don't they say silence is acceptance? Just like beer, Frundi is unwilling to quit the helm of the SDF despite pretentious declaration that he is old, sick, and wants to hand over the party to fresh and younger blood. Who says the ADF is not an appendage of the CPDM? In another development within the corridors of the last NEC meeting, the Bameleke block of the SDF was effectively absent during the meeting. Among those absent at the meeting was their SG. We learned the SG from our Senator Tusimelo Jean complained that a NEC meeting was convened without him being consulted. He questioned who are these insiders who do things without taking into consideration that he is the SG and the party's constitution designates his office to summon a NEC meeting. Can we say the quorum wasn't met and that is why we haven't not seen the NEC resolutions in circulation? Or are they busy preparing and making arrangements for the 20th May 2022 march past steadily? Honorable Nunchui Juan Michael, who is a Bameleke and an SDF MP from Warri East, has been MP since 2007. This is his third mandate. He is complaining bitterly that he took his party and dissolved into the SDF, but he is being badly treated. He is considering his membership of the SDF as well as reviving his dissolved party. The SEF, which is completely dead in Ambazonia, is fast dying in La Republic du Cameroon. Its Bamileke base is reconsidering their participation in a party, which many people are seeing as a subsection of the CPDM. Back to the neck meeting. The regional chair of the center, Mr. Tonga Emmanuel, opposed SEF's participation in the march past, but Mr. Frundi wouldn't listen. He said their party is dying, and rapidly so, owing to the leadership closeness with the CPDM. Those in attendance, who are mostly beneficiaries of the ongoing war in Ambazonia, as some of them are called MPs and senators, maintained conspirational silence for reasons best known to them. Don't they say a mouth that has food in it can't talk? By and large, Ambazonians should hold SDF, especially Mrs. Frundi Mochiko Van Gazen, etc., responsible for supporting and abating genocide in Ambazonia. Where on earth will someone called Frundi or Mochigo oppose the freedom of his people, to the extent that after calling for the extradition of Ambazonian leaders, he is now asking the Bia junta to arrest family members of the leaders and dump them into jails. Throwing them into jails will push some to capitulate, as we are already seeing in Oliver, Le Cafe, Christopher, from Bena, Mbesha, Clement, and many others. In all, Ambazonians should keep fighting for the actualization of their restored independence, and keep in mind that the enemy within is more dangerous than the one outside. Let me end this report from the female quote from Harriet Tubman, and it says, "If you are tired, keep going. If you are scared, keep going. If you are hungry, keep going. If you want to taste freedom, keep going." Again, I would like to meet our analysts for tonight. Of course, we have Nijo and Mr. Tarpadi King. Are you there? Can you hear me? Please confirm you can.
5 and 5.
All right, so you heard that report owing till the 20th May. What do you think?
Yeah. Again, it's a situation where I need to appreciate and thank you for all your input into this struggle and for reading that out so clearly. A very good report. But it's insane when you think about the leadership of SDF and what they're contributing. And when I say insane, I'm not missing the words. If for those of us who lived the creation of SDF, participated into it with completely different ambitions against what the leaders had in mind from 1990 to date. If you know this history of the SDF and hear me say the leadership is insane, you would agree with me in total. Because it's someone in their normal senses, an Ambazonian, in those actions you have just listed there, needs medical attention, and this is not meant to be a joke. This for Ni John Fru to be insisting that the SDF participates in the celebration of 20th May, you would have thought he would be on the discussion desk arguing the case for Ambazonians not to participate in 20th May. To have heard from your report that he is asking one of his close collaborators to follow up and get authorization, which we have just seen on social media, granting the SDF to participate with all sorts of conditions around it. Again, you would have thought that he would be telling his close collaborators, whatever happens, the SDF is not going to participate in the celebration of 20th May, either in Bamenda or in Yaoundé. And there is no other way to describe the frustration, the anger, the disappointment in Ambazonians. And there is a little sad thing that I might link to this. Over the years, the colonial administrators have killed people, have shot live bullets and killed Ambazonians in Bamenda. And the very first one I can think of was, I think, 1978 or so, when the football match, Pilo de Bamenda and Tone Yaoundé were playing, and they fired live bullets and killed people who went to watch the match. And then over the years, there has been struggle in Bamenda town, particularly with the GMIs, and again, people have been killed. When the SDF was launched in 1990, 92, I can't put my head around the right figures. Again, Ambazonians were shot with live bullets, were murdered for when that party was launched, that political party was launched. And I may be wrong, but the colonizers probably got courage from these events leading up from 1978, when they have been firing live bullets and killing Ambazonians and nothing has happened. Right up to 90, when the SDF was formed, nothing happened. And when we started marching with peace plans, in our culture, the peace plan called Nkung is whatever, as one of the previous speakers on your show said, I think last night, if you have a peace plan in hand, it doesn't matter what sort of information you're carrying. The person to whom you're carrying that message would listen to the message because of, in respect of the peace plan. It's a sign. Like in war front, I'm not an army, I'm not an expert, but my understanding is, if an army has surrendered and is holding a white piece of cloth or is putting their hands up, that is a sign in international law saying, do not shoot. So what I'm insinuating here is the colonial masters of Ambazonians have been doing this over the years. And when this happened in 2017, when our people went out there with peace plans, they thought, we've done this before, nothing has happened. When the GCE board was launched, when we had rumors, and then I was in seed form, I heard rumors that the GCE was going to be transformed to be French and the rest of it, and there was some agitation. Students were shot dead, and nothing happened. So when this happened, they probably thought, oh, we've done this many times, nothing has happened, let us go. So that this doesn't go further. They got it wrong, because the age that we are in, the information will not be twisted. We will get the raw information onto our phones and know what to do, and the reaction is going to be different. And that is why we are where we are. They got it wrong, because if they had not done the wrong things in the past by firing live bullets and killing Ambazonians right up to 2017, they probably wouldn't have thought of doing what they did. But because they've done it over the years and nothing happened, oh, let's do it again, so that we stop. And thank God the age proved them wrong, and we are where we are. That has, which we cross in my dialect, we not means we're not going back. Each bridge we cross along this that bridge off, so we're not going back. So, and we can only, the sooner this is dealt with at an international level, and reading from a posting from on social media yesterday, the deliberations that took place in the United Nations General Assembly in April 1961, we had more than about 60% of the delegates in that meeting who refused to vote for this, who knew that there was something fundamentally wrong with what was being prepared by the United Kingdom, United Nations executive or leaders, and the French Cameroon. The majority of the participants at that assembly voted against this, or not voted against it, but argued against what we are facing now. And I'm not an expert in this, but I think if we took the experts that I read yesterday into any court and cited all this, older persons from different nationalities, brought into to say what you're doing is wrong. And one of the quotes that I remember vividly is from the Secretary General of the UN at that time, a gentleman who lost his life in a plane crash, and rumors buried that that plane crash was arranged. He said to unite, or to ask the Southern Cameroons to join the French-speaking Cameroons was like pushing a balloon underwater. I don't know if how he put it, but if you read that quote, what it means is you blow a balloon and you're trying to force it underwater. And when you get home, try that experiment and see how long the balloon is going to stay down there. I yield.
Yeah, you see, Nijo, you've just said something very vital, and I just cannot wait to listen to Barrister Ghana this evening, because he has particularly taken years, I would say decades of his life, just to study aspects of these treaties, these resolutions. He is here waiting to speak. Amazonians cannot even wait to listen to him. I really don't like talking about Nijo
on your platform. I said that earlier. He's one of my favorite speakers on here.
Ambazonians really want to listen to him tonight. I don't want to waste so much time talking about Frundi, because Frundi has always, to me, I call him, he has always behaved fraudulently. He has always betrayed. When you talk about betrayal, insisting that we celebrate 20th May, he betrayed our forebears in the 80s. He betrayed us as a people in the 9th election and decided to concede instead of even cracking through, even though that was not really a good thing for Amazonia. But we now realizing that some of our parents lost their jobs. We have people that died because of Nijon Frundi. And for him to be insisting, that is a bad news. I think I'd like us to just stop talking about him now and move on to Pastor Commando and Dr. Winnie Lobati. Onye, over to you, please.
Just in case you're joining us for the first time, we are already in day 3 of our news conference. And the first lecture for tonight will be, of course, for Pastor Commando. But before we get into that lecture, let's get to this editorial.
We had an awesome moment with Pa Augustine Ndangam, and we would like to say that his topic of discussion was quite fascinating. We, the Undaunted, have a perspective we would like you to know before we listen to Barrister Ghana Valentine. We would like to think that the UN General Assembly Resolution 1608-XV granted us independence within secure international boundaries and set October 1st as our Day of Independence. That decision remains immutable, and that's why we've reclaimed and restored our state and our government. The requirement to form a confederal segregative union with the already independent Republic of French Cameroon was simply an additional request after the fact. The fine print of the resolution talks about the government of the Southern Cameroons entering negotiations towards concluding a federal union treaty with the Republic of Cameroon by October 1st. It was not a prerequisite for the lifting of the Union Jack on October 1st, since we already had a government and a functional state. In fact, the restoration of our state on October 1st, 2017, and the long-standing observation of our Independence Day on October 1st assumes that we are an independent state and were only occupied and annexed through the guise of a federal union in 1972. The Southern Cameroons was unique in this aspect, for UN trust territories like British Togoland in a similar situation were simply absorbed into the Gold Coast in a plebiscite vote in 1957 to form modern-day Ghana. As far as we of Undaunted are concerned, we believe that once Ambazonia drives or negotiates the occupiers out of Ambazonia, we would have simply arrogated our sovereign independence. Since the UN Decolonization Committee on the Southern Cameroons had been disbanded long ago. We think our stronger argument is that we were duly granted independence as per UN General Assembly Resolution 1608-XV within secure international boundaries and later occupied and annexed by a belligerent neighbor. 20th May marked the actual date that the fake referendum was conducted to formally annex the state of the Southern Cameroons or the Federated State of West Cameroon. Since Resolution 1608-XB itself was nuanced, we should interpret it that our best favor, we therefore posit that we were granted independence in 1961 and simply overran, occupied and later informally annexed by an expansionist neighbor on May 20, 1972. I believe at this point we have set the stage for the next speaker.
Thank you for standing by, and we move into our first lecture today. We have Pastor Commando and Dr. Frederick Lobati to handle this session. Good evening, Pastor Commando. Are you there? Please confirm you can hear me loud and clear.
Hi, good evening, Oni. How you doing?
Very well, thank you. All right, you'll be speaking to us on religion, church, and politics.
Yeah, thank you very much. I would like to say I'll be talking on church and politics, not religion, because religion is a term that is generally used out there, which to me implies a people who are doing everything to please God and to seek God on their strength and in their own way. But church, ecclesiastically speaking, which is the definition of the Bible, is a called out people who have accepted Jesus Christ and they are doing everything to move as Jesus did move. Even though the word Christianity has been disintegrated and actually rubbed on the ground, Christianity was a nickname given to a people who were observed to be moving like Jesus, doing everything like Jesus. The simplicity of their hearts and their honesty was like Jesus, which was very typical of the Ambazonian people, as I can connect. And so, with that definition, I would like to say that church would have been the main arbiter to the problems of the world. But because humans came in and discovered that if you actually remain as a church, you will always be giving the left jaw if the right jaw is slapped, or always giving your coat, your cloak, if your coat is taken away. So they decided now to kind of dilute the word church and bring it down to religion, which is one of the major problems we have today when it comes to religion and church. So my take is that we have lost, and there is a lot of losing that is still going on for the true Christian and the true child of God and the true church in the world today. Now, with that said, I would say that if you look at the prevailing situation in Ambazonia now, you will understand that because of their simplicity and honesty and the background of the church which they had, they believed that everybody was a human and had some church in him like they. And that's why all the tricks and the games of La Republique, they were like foolish, but they were not really foolish because they were simply thinking that human beings should behave the way they were behaving. When you are honest and you speak honestly, everybody will think, you would think that everybody should look at your honesty and sincerity and do the same. And that's the situation of the Amazonian people. But later on, they came to discover that that honesty was for a selected few, or for a few that had accepted to go the hard way to make other people know that, there is a difference when it comes to God stepping into individuals' lives and when it comes to religion. Now, with that said, I want to briefly state again that church is a people who have handed over to Jesus Christ and they are living the life that Jesus lived, and they are an example to every other person who is not church. The religious places we call church have polluted the whole atmosphere to the point that an average woman does not even have confidence in the God that they are talking about. Can you imagine a place that is called church that's supposed to be neutral? No, I'm not saying neutral in the sense that's supposed to stand for the truth, to be real, because there is no neutrality when it comes to looking at the indifferences and the injustice of the world. Now, the church is supposed to be a place of justice. It doesn't matter who is standing there that is in unjust. The church stand out and say, hey, this is not correct. The church, which I call a religious place now, already know that Ambazonia was not present when La République du Cameroon, their first name, when they had their independence on the 1st of January 1960. If that is really a church, they will say it very clear. It was 2 years after, a year plus, almost 2 years, that the independence of Ambazonia was supposed to be proclaimed, 1st of October 1961, after La République was already independent, 1st of